Girlfriend screamed, "You're too clingy," just because I asked where she was. My name is Iker. I'm 26 years old, and I still remember the exact moment everything shattered. It was 3 a.m. on a Thursday, Mexico City. I woke up and Delilah wasn't in bed. Not the first time, but something felt off. The air felt wrong. Her phone, the one she'd left in the living room, was vibrating like crazy with notifications. I texted her, "Hey, are you okay? Where are you?" Simple question, right? A concerned boyfriend checking in at 3 in the morning when his girlfriend of 2 years disappeared without warning. My phone exploded with a call 30 seconds later. "Are you serious?" She was screaming. Actually screaming. "You're monitoring me at 3 in the morning? Do you have any idea how suffocating you are? I just woke up and you weren't here. I was worried." "You're not worried, you're controlling. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're always breathing down my neck. Always asking questions. Always needing to know everything. I can't do this anymore." My brain was still foggy from sleep. "Iker, you're too clingy. I need space. God, why can't you just give me space?" The line went dead. I sat there in our apartment in Colonia, Roma. In the dark, phone in my hand. 2 years together. Living together for 8 months. And I was the intense one for asking where she was at 3 in the morning. Something inside me just switched off. Like someone flipped the breaker. I looked around the apartment. Most of the furniture was mine, brought from my old place. The lease was in my name because she was on the credit blacklist and nobody would rent to her. I paid 70% of everything. She'd been between jobs for 6 months. "Okay," I said out loud to the empty room. She got home at 6:23 a.m. I pretended to be asleep. She slid into bed like nothing had happened, smelling like cigarettes and something else I chose not to identify. Her phone never stopped buzzing. I waited until she was completely passed out from exhaustion. Then I got to work. I called my boss at 8 a.m. Family emergency. I need to take my vacation days starting today. He was understanding, really cool about it. Asked if everything was okay. I told him I'd explain later. I didn't actually plan to. I called Rogelio, a good friend who owed me several favors. "I need your truck and your help today. I'll pay for gas and buy you whatever you want to eat." He showed up at 10 a.m. Delilah was still deep asleep, probably nursing a brutal hangover from whatever she'd been doing all night. We moved fast. Every piece of furniture I owned went into that truck. My clothes, my electronics, my kitchen stuff. Absolutely everything. Rogelio didn't ask questions. Just kept loading boxes. I left her stuff. Her clothes. Her makeup. That expensive flat iron she had to have that I paid for. I even left the bed, since she was sleeping in it. Not my problem anymore. I took all my important documents. Birth certificate, passport, military card, everything. I canceled the utilities that were in my name. Right there. From my banking app and calling the companies while Rogelio drove the last load to his house for storage. I went to the bank. We had separate accounts, thank God. But I'd been transferring her money every week for groceries and gas. I canceled the scheduled transfers. Deleted her account from my beneficiaries. I went to the phone store. Changed my number. Bought a new SIM card. Done. Then I did something crazy. Remember how I said I'd been planning to propose? Yeah, I was that naive. I had a ring and everything. 85,000 pesos I'd saved for a year. I went straight to the jewelry store in Polanco. Explained the situation to the manager. Even though I lost some money on the return, I walked out of there with 60,000 pesos cash. I used that money and my savings to pay the deposit on an apartment in Monterrey, Nuevo Leon. I'd had a job offer there that I'd turned down 6 months ago because Delilah said she couldn't leave her friends in Mexico City. I called the company back. The position was still open. I'd start in 2 weeks. The entire operation took 11 hours. By 9 p.m., I was gone. No note, no explanation, no goodbye. She wanted space? She got infinite space. I blocked her number before the new SIM even activated. I blocked her on everything. Social media, email, WhatsApp. I blocked her friends, her sister, everyone. I slept at Rogelio's house that night. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Are you okay, man?" "Yeah," I said. And weirdly, I was. I didn't feel anything. I was just done. I drove north the next day, to my new city. Started my new job 2 weeks later. New apartment, new life, new phone number. A completely clean break. That was 3 years ago.
Can we appreciate the level of precision here? This man executed a military-grade extraction in under 12 hours. No drama, no arguments, just pure, cold efficiency.
Life was actually pretty decent in the north. The new job paid better. I made new friends. Hardworking, straightforward people. I started dating someone about 8 months ago. Nothing serious, but healthy. I went to therapy for a while. Worked on my trust issues. Bought good furniture. Lived alone. And I liked it. Then last Tuesday, I was at a coffee shop in San Pedro Garza, working on my laptop. Someone sat down across from me. "So this is where you've been hiding." I looked up. Delilah was sitting there like we'd seen each other yesterday in Condesa. Not 3 years ago and hundreds of miles away. My brain short-circuited. "What? It took me forever to find you. You just vanished. Changed your number. Deleted everything. Do you have any idea what you put me through?" I closed my laptop. "How did you find me?" "Your friend Rogelio finally told me where you went. It took a lot of convincing, but I can be very persuasive." She smiled like this was cute. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." I started packing my stuff. She grabbed my wrist. "Yes, we do. You left without an explanation. Without anything. You just disappeared like a coward. You told me I was too clingy and you needed space. I gave you space. That's not what I meant and you know it. I was just stressed that night. At 3 in the morning, when you weren't home." Her face twitched. "I was with friends." Girls' night ran late. Good for you. Enjoy your space. I pulled my wrist back and stood up. Wait. She stood up too, raising her voice. The very discreet people in San Pedro were staring. I'm pregnant. The coffee shop went silent. Or maybe it was just my ears ringing. Congratulations. I'm sure the father will be thrilled. You're the father. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. The math doesn't work. We broke up 3 years ago. That would make your pregnancy over 1,000 days old. I'm pretty sure that's a world record. Don't be stupid. It's from before. I didn't find out until. I held up my hand. I'm not falling for this. Whatever scam you're running, find another sucker. It's not a scam. The baby is 2 years old. I have a 2-year-old son, and you're his father. Okay, that changed things. Not that I believed her, but now there was a timeline that technically worked. Show me. What? Show me a photo. Birth certificate. Something. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and showed me a picture. The kid looked like any random 2-year-old. Brown hair, light eyes. Could have been anyone's. The birth certificate doesn't have the father's name, she added. I didn't know where you were, but he's yours. I know he is. DNA test. Set it up. If the kid's mine, we'll figure it out. If not, lose my number again. Are you serious? After everything you put me through, you're questioning. You showed up after 3 years claiming I have a son. Yes, I'm questioning it. DNA test or we're done here. She went quiet, jaw clenched. Fine, but when it comes back positive, you owe me 3 years of back child support. If it comes back positive, lawyers will figure out what I owe according to the law. Not you. I walked out, got in my car, sat there for 20 minutes with my hands shaking. A son. After 3 years. The timing was technically possible. We'd broken up right before I left. So if she was already pregnant when I disappeared. No. Something felt wrong. Really wrong. I called Rogelio in Mexico City. Hey, weird question. Did Delilah ever call you asking where I moved? Dude, she called me like 80 times over 6 months. I told her I didn't know. She said she finally convinced you. There was a pause. No, I never told her anything. I haven't heard from her in like 2 years. So she lied about how she found me. Great start. She texted me from a number I didn't have blocked. DNA test scheduled for Saturday, 2 p.m. Be there or I'll file for child support without you. How lovely. More threats. I replied, send me the address and lab name. I'll verify it's legitimate. She sent the location of a place I'd never heard of. I googled it. Fast Results Genetics Lab. It looked terrible. The website looked like it was made by an amateur. The reviews were either 5 stars or 1 star. Nothing in between. I called a lawyer friend, Licenciado Martinez. Don't go to that lab, buddy, he said immediately. Schedule your own test through a certified institution. Only results that are valid in court. So I replied, I won't use that lab. Here's a list of 3 approved clinical labs. Pick one and we'll meet there. Her response, are you serious? I already paid for this one. You can't just change everything to suit yourself. You're so controlling. There was that word again. Controlling. Certified lab or no test. Your choice. She called me 12 times. I didn't answer. Then her mother called from a number I also didn't have blocked. You need to stop playing games with my daughter. She's been through hell raising your son alone while you've been living it up in the north. Good afternoon, ma'am. This is the first time I'm hearing about any child. I'm willing to take a DNA test at a legitimate place. If they know where I am, they know I have a job and stability. If the child is mine, I'll handle my legal responsibilities accordingly. She doesn't want lawyers. She just wants you to be a father. Then she should have told me 3 years ago. Now everything goes through official channels. If you'll excuse me, you owe her. Do you know what she went through? Pregnant and alone. She had to move back in with us. She couldn't work. Her whole life fell apart because of you. She told me I was too clingy and needed space. I gave her exactly what she asked for. She was scared. She didn't know how to tell you about the baby. You traumatized her with your jealousy and control. This was fascinating in a horrible way. 3 years later and suddenly I was the villain. The toxic boyfriend who traumatized her. Not the guy who got screamed at for asking a simple question at 3 a.m. Ma'am, I'm going to hang up now. Tell your daughter to choose one of the labs I sent or it's over. She chose one. Finally, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Serious clinical lab with chain of custody. I arrived 30 minutes early. She showed up 10 minutes late with her mother and some guy. Didn't look like boyfriend. Partner. No idea. The kid was there. Cute kid. Actually looked tired and confused. Kept asking, who's he? Referring to me. Someone we need to talk to, she told him. The lab technician explained the process. Cheek swabs. Official ID. Results in 3 to 5 business days. The kid started crying when they tried to swab him. Delilah got annoyed. Stop being difficult. Open your mouth. The kid cried harder. I have no experience with kids, but even I knew you can't just yell at a crying 2-year-old and expect compliance. The technician offered to try again in a few minutes. We waited in awkward silence. Her mother kept glaring at me. The boyfriend didn't look up from his phone. Finally they got the samples. I provided mine. Signed all the paperwork. They said results would come by email. As I was leaving, she followed me to my car. When this comes back positive, we need to talk about money. But no lawyers. Stop saying that. Everything will be legal. I don't want courts. I just want you to help support your son. If he's mine, I'll do it according to the law. Not with some under-the-table deal. You still want to control everything. That's why I needed space from you. I turned around. You disappeared at 3 a.m. and screamed at me for asking where you were. Then I left. And you had 3 years to contact me legally if there really was a child. You chose to show up now, out of nowhere. You chose a sketchy lab first. So yes, I'm controlling the situation, making sure everything's legitimate. Deal with it. You're going to regret it when you see how much child support costs. When you see what you missed, you're going to regret being a jerk. Maybe. Or maybe I'll regret wasting 2 years with someone who thought screaming at me at dawn was normal. Her mother came out. So leave my daughter alone. You've done enough damage. I got in my car and left. I spent the rest of the weekend feeling strange. If the kid was mine, my life was about about to change dramatically. If he wasn't, this was a monumental scam attempt.
The audacity to bring her mother and her new boyfriend to a paternity test for a kid she's trying to pin on her ex from 3 years ago. That's some next-level manipulation right there.
Wednesday afternoon, the email arrived. I was in a meeting, but I excused myself to go to the bathroom to read it. Results: 0% probability of paternity. Not mine. Not even close. 0. I forwarded the email to Licenciado Martinez. Now what? He called me immediately. She tried to commit paternity fraud. You could report her, but honestly, save this documentation and block her again. If she tries anything legal, you have irrefutable proof. She wasted my time and money on the test. She lied. Yes, but engaging further only brings more problems. You have proof the child isn't yours. That's all you need. He was right, but I was furious. 3 years of peace, and she showed up to try to pin a kid on me who wasn't even mine. I forwarded her the results. No comment. 5 minutes later, my phone started ringing nonstop. Different numbers calling. I answered one. You sabotaged the test. She was shrieking. Did you bribe them or something? It's not possible. It's a certified lab. I didn't touch anything. The kid isn't mine. It's over. No, it's not over. You owe me for the 3 years I spent suffering. You spent 3 years lying. Goodbye. I hung up and blocked every new number that called. I changed my number again that same afternoon. New SIM. New number. Only gave the contact to essential people. Cost me 700 pesos and an hour of my time. Worth it to never hear from her again. I thought that was the end, but no. 2 weeks later, I got served at work. A judicial officer showed up at my office with documents. A lawsuit. Delilah was suing me for moral damages and financial harm stemming from abandonment during a vulnerable time. She was claiming 900,000 pesos, broken down as 300,000 pesos for emotional trauma from abandonment, 200,000 pesos for stress-related medical expenses, 400,000 pesos for lost wages and job opportunities due to psychological damage. My boss was cool about the whole process server thing, but I was humiliated. I got served at my workplace in front of my colleagues. I immediately called a local attorney in Monterrey, specialist in family law. He read the papers and laughed out loud. This is one of the weakest cases I've seen. You weren't married. You didn't live in official common law union long enough. There are no children in common to validate the union. You had no legal obligation to notify her of your move. She's desperate. Can she actually win? Very unlikely. But we need to answer the lawsuit and defend you. It'll cost you some money, but less than it would cost you emotionally to keep dealing with this circus. Cost me 50,000 pesos up front for the lawyer. I didn't care. I wanted this done right. The lawyer sent a response that included a negative DNA test, documentation that she tried to use a sketchy lab first, screenshots of messages where she called me controlling, proof that I had stable employment and legitimate reasons to move states. We also filed a counterclaim for attempted fraud and harassment. Her lawyer, some guy who clearly charged cheap rates, tried to argue that I owed her because I'd supported her financially during the relationship and she'd created a dependency. My lawyer's response was blunt. Helping with expenses during dating doesn't create a lifelong legal obligation. People end relationships. That's life. The process lasted 6 weeks. The evidence phase was interesting. She had to present evidence of her stress-related medical conditions. She presented some generic prescriptions. My lawyer investigated her social media. She forgot to make them private. He found posts from 2 weeks after I left Mexico City. Photos at parties, concerts, bars, living my best life finally. One caption said. Another, single and free. Thank God that's over. Didn't seem very traumatized by the abandonment. We showed up at family court for the hearing. She wore a modest dress, looked sad, wiped away imaginary tears. Her mother was there. The supposed boyfriend wasn't. Her lawyer started with a telenovela story about how I'd emotionally abused her by being possessive and then cruelly abandoned her. The judge asked, did your client ever try to contact him through legal means or file a missing person report with the public ministry? Her lawyer stammered. Well, no, but she knew where he worked, where his family lived. She tried to find him, but he blocked her. Blocking her on WhatsApp isn't the same as being legally unreachable. Continue. They tried to use the pregnancy as an argument, despite the DNA proving it wasn't mine. The judge was not impressed. Then my lawyer presented our facts. A clear timeline. We dated. We lived together. I paid almost everything. She came home at 6 a.m. and screamed at me. I ended the relationship and took my things. I moved for work. 3 years later, she showed up with false paternity. My lawyer showed the Facebook photos of her partying weeks after my departure. Showed the messages. Showed the DNA. The judge took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. Ma'am, relationships end. You weren't married. There's no proven common law union. There are no children in common. The defendant had no legal obligation to support you. Your abandonment claim is unfounded. But he just left. I had rights. You had a dating relationship. He decided to end it. Case dismissed. Then he looked at our counterclaim. Regarding the fraud, I see bad faith. I condemn the plaintiff to pay the defendant's court costs and legal expenses. 50,000 pesos. She has 90 days. She froze. I don't have 50,000 pesos. You should have thought about that before suing without grounds. Session adjourned. Outside the courthouse, her mother started screaming at me on the sidewalk. You ruined her life. She had to move back in with us. She's in debt. All because you couldn't handle a real woman. Your daughter screamed at me at dawn. Lied about a child. Tried to scam scam me with a fake test, then sued me. She ruined her own life. I just refused to pay for it. She loved you. She loved that I paid 70% of the bills. There's a big difference. My lawyer pulled me by the arm. Let's go, Iker. You won. Don't fall for provocations. In the car, I felt empty. All of this had cost me time, money, and peace of mind. 3 years of tranquility interrupted by her manipulation. 50,000 pesos she owed me? Never saw a cent. She declared bankruptcy 6 months later. I found out because my lawyer checked the file out of curiosity. The last I heard through a mutual acquaintance, she moved back to our hometown. She's engaged to another guy, and she's still telling the story that I cruelly abandoned her. Some people never learn, never take responsibility. They'd rather live bitter. As for me, I changed my number one more time, deleted my social media, left only one private account for family. I've been with my current girlfriend for a year, a healthy relationship where we actually communicate. When she goes out late, she lets me know. When I ask where she is, she tells me, without screaming that I'm controlling. Turns out that's possible. I never told my current girlfriend the full story. Maybe someday. For now, it's just a weird chapter from my past in Mexico City. I still keep the judge's sentence. I have it just in case Delilah tries something new. It's proof that I didn't owe her anything then, and I don't owe her anything now. You wanted space? Be careful what you wish for. This is what happens when you confuse boundaries with control. When you weaponize words like clingy and space to justify disappearing at 3 a.m. without explanation. Delilah didn't want a partner. She wanted a ATM with no questions asked. And when he dared to ask where she was at dawn, she turned him into the villain. 3 years later, she tried paternity fraud, then a lawsuit. Both failed spectacularly. A lesson? Some people will rewrite history to make themselves the victim. They'll cry abandonment while partying on social media. They'll demand accountability from everyone except themselves. Iker didn't abandon her. He refused to be manipulated. There's a difference. The judge dismissed her case, ordered her to pay 50,000 pesos in legal costs. She declared bankruptcy 6 months later. The DNA test came back 0% match. The paternity fraud failed. A lawsuit claiming 900,000 pesos in damages? Thrown out of court. I keep the judge's ruling in a folder, along with the negative DNA results, and screenshots of her living my best life, posts from 2 weeks after I left. She wanted space at 3 a.m.? She got 3 years of it. She wanted money? The judge ordered her to pay me instead. She wanted to rewrite history? The court documents tell the real story. My current girlfriend doesn't know the details. Maybe she never will. That chapter is closed, locked, and the key is in a courtroom file that proves I owed her nothing. I changed my number 3 times, moved states, started over completely. Was it extreme? Maybe. Was it necessary? Absolutely. Because the moment someone screams at you for caring about their safety, that's the moment you know they don't deserve your concern.